Greetings, all you loyal viewers, and thank you for tuning in to tonight's Big Hit episode, where tonight we feature another hour-long episode. For tonight's episode, I'm your host, Jake Slobodnik, and we got a great lineup once again for you. Starting things off, we got the NBA segment with Jeff Hart and Joey Sinaway, two fierce beards coming at you with NBA analysis. Following that, we got the NFL Roundtable with Garrett Clark, Jacob Spaghetti Spagnol, and Nick Dudowski. Following that, we got the NHL segment with, of course, Jake Taylor and Mike Costa, two expert analysts at the subject. Following that, we got the fierce rivalry between Stephen Langdon Jr. and Michael Surma battling out in the NCAA Football segment. And capping it all off, we got the second edition of the Weekday Update with, of course, Hot Take Jake Taylor and Nick Daddy Dudowski. That's all here on tonight's episode of The Big Hit. Stick around. Welcome back into the Big Hit for our first segment of the day, the NBA Roundtable. I'm with guests Jeff Hart and Joey Sinaway. And guys, we got a lot to talk about today. Starting off, one of the biggest storylines of the season, or rather train wrecks, I should say, have been the Cleveland Cavaliers. With a 1-9 record and the recent firing of Tyronn Lue, what do you believe is the biggest reason for the Cavs' poor start?
Well, it can all be traced back to one man. And no, I'm not referring to LeBron James. I have to talk about GM Dan Gilbert and his utter inability to lead a team. That man pushed away Kyrie, takes credit for LeBron, and you know what I find even funnier in all that whole situation? The only reason he got LeBron in the first place and was successful was because they were the worst team in the league. I think it's been evident year after year. They don't have anything around them right now. I don't think Dan Gilbert knows how to lead a team. I really don't. So I think when you talk about their troubles this season, it can be traced back to him.
Oh, I agree for sure. When LeBron was in town, they were all about win now. They traded away a lot of draft picks, got rid of a lot of guys, and I don't necessarily think that Ty Lue was the issue on this particular team because they're bad. They don't have a star. Kevin Love got hurt after the first game, and their first-round pick, Colin Sexton, everyone was all high on him. And players within the Cavs locker room, and I quote, "We're unsure if Sexton knows how to play basketball." And they're playing at the highest level in the world here. I mean, it's not settling when you're looking forward to your future. No draft pick next year. I think that the Cleveland Browns have a better chance of bringing home a ship than the Cleveland Cavaliers do. From 2010 to 2014 without LeBron, they went 97-215. Buckle up, Cleveland, you're going down that road again.
Well, and especially the Sexton point. You can't call out a rookie in the first part of the season saying he doesn't know how to play.
Not even 10 games in.
It's on the veteran's job to help him improve, and that's part of the problem. There is no veteran presence of good players. I mean, J.R. Smith.
Yeah, is he a role model?
I was about to say, do you really want to role model your game after J.R. Smith?
Definitely not.
They pushed out everyone. LeBron pushes out everyone religiously. I mean, they had Isaiah Thomas, Dwayne Wade, and a bunch of other role players. But they got pushed away because they imploded, because LeBron ran the team. And like you said, I don't think Ty Lue is a great head coach. LeBron is the on-court coach wherever he goes.
Oh, yeah.
Miami, Cleveland.
We've seen him snatch the clipboard away from Ty Lue a couple times or told him to
Absolutely.
get the heck out of the huddle.
Well, yeah, now Luke Walton and that whole situation with the Lakers is shaky because LeBron wants to take control again, and now there's a power struggle at that coaching position, and it's just a mess right now in Cleveland.
No, I agree. I definitely agree.
All right, guys, moving on. With the NCAA season starting this week, many NBA fans are excited for the potential of new prospects to help enhance their teams and maybe even take them to the next level. What draft prospect do you think can make the biggest difference on an NBA team, and what team do you think can benefit most from a top prospect?
The NBA team that could benefit the most, I would say the Pacers are a good team. They're missing a power forward. I'd say so. Miles Turner, he's good. Vic Oladipo has been shooting the lights out of the gym. I just think that's unrealistic for them to get Zion. I see him going to like maybe the Cavs, Mavs, Suns, Kings, Knicks, maybe even put him with Porzingis.
Well, as far as who I think is the most talented player in that draft class, undoubtedly is Zion. He is by far the most gifted most physically gifted specimen I have seen since LeBron. He is 6'7" and 285 pounds of just basketball machine. Yes, he does not have a jump shot. However, there are other players in the league right now that don't have jump shots. Giannis, Ben Simmons, and I don't think anyone questions their ability to play the game. If you put a player in the right system, you can help them take their strong points and really amplify them. I think if you put them on a team, and actually I had this too, the Pacers, they're actually 6th in the league right now in three-point percentage. If you plugged in Zion, put him with a Miles Turner, and then have a amazing three-point shooting squad already, and he could dominate the paint like that, I think they immediate turnaround and just Eastern Conference powerhouse.
For sure. I think they got a chance this year to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. Oladipo's playing out of his element, man. He's had 20 points in every single game except for the first game this season. So, I mean, him to the Pacers, a trade would have to be involved, I think. But, hey, man, he might end up with your Knicks. You'd like that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but that would require the Knicks actually making a smart decision. Haven't seen one of those in years.
That would require them to actually want to win, am I right?
Yeah, that's another bad GM, James Dolan, but that's for another topic.
You're right, and that topic is not next. However, it is the Washington Wizards. They start their season, and it is anything but magical. With a 2-7 start, many fans have given up on the former Eastern Conference powerhouse. However, now newly signed center Dwight Howard made his debut last Friday and helped the team win their second game of the season against your Knicks. How do you think Howard can help turn this team around, and what can he add to the Washington's current reign? Please don't fight me because I diss your Knicks.
No. You have every right to. I diss them as much as anyone. My problem with the Wizards stems way past their talent as a roster. I've seen chemistry issues between John Wall and Bradley Beal the last year or two. You have talent on that team. You have Kelly Oubre Jr., Dwight Howard, John Wall, Bradley Beal. You have talented players. There's no question. John Wall needs to step his game up. People are mentioning you in the same breath as Russell Westbrook, Kyrie Irving, Chris Paul. He needs to step up. He's acting like a baby right now. He's talking to the media, telling them that they suck right now and using a variety of words to describe. So, you're the franchise. You're the franchise player. You need to act like it and carry the team and help them win, and he's not doing that. As far as the Dwight Howard situation, he's been a cancer in every locker room he's in. I think any player will attest to that, whether it is on the court, off the court, in the locker room. He's always been a problem. And when the problem, right now, the Wizards have a chemistry issue. So adding a player like Dwight Howard, who is as polarizing as he is, I think is the worst thing they could do.
Oh, I completely agree. Dwight Howard, he's a cancer to the locker room. Contenders throughout the past couple of years have tried to add him. The Lakers, the Rockets, even the Hawks, they were making it to the Eastern Conference Finals or far in the Eastern Conference playoffs. They tried to add Dwight to make a difference. It just seems like he never does. I mean, in my eyes, to me, for Dwight, it's all about dollar signs. He don't have a passion for the game, I don't think, and that's why we see him play the way he does. I mean, everyone wants that Orlando Magic Dwight. But we're never going to get that again because he was working to get paid. He got paid, and we haven't seen that since. So, I mean...
And now he's evolved into a name, so now he expects us to walk into an arena and get paid.
Absolutely,
Exactly.
And I like what you said. Dwight Howard is one of the most wasted physical talents I have ever seen. He never took the game seriously, and that's evident in every team he's been on. I think Van Gundy did a great job with the Orlando Magic, surrounding him with shooters on that team because Dwight Howard would just dominate the post. And it's sad that he's being considered for the Hall of Fame, and he never even took the game seriously. I think that's sad.
Hall of Fame for him, I mean, I don't think he should be in the Hall of Fame, but he'll probably be up there in rebounds, points, and all that kind of stuff. But for the Wizards' problems, like if this keeps up, trade everyone. I'd say. I mean, what do you got to lose then? I mean, get some picks. John Wall, you draft him. He's like supposed to be this out-of-worldly player and stuff, and I just don't feel like he's ever lived up to his name so far. I mean, they've had a couple playoff runs, but then they run into the man who's LeBron James. But that's what he leaves this year. Everyone was hopeful, and now it's kind of looking dim for them.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, moving on. This season, the Golden State Warriors have looked utterly unstoppable, like they always do. A large factor in the dominance has been Steph Curry. The former MVP has been on fire night in and night out, averaging 31 points and 50% from the three-point arc. Do you think Curry can have another MVP season or no?
I don't think he can, man. Not with those four guys on the court with him. There's only one ball to go around, and none of those guys ever play in the fourth quarter. I think last year in the regular season, the starting five of the Warriors played in like 3 games in the fourth quarter. It's just ridiculous. It's like an AAU team that's like the #1 seed at every single tournament. In my eyes, like the Warriors are the Globetrotters. Everyone else is like the Washington Generals. It's just like whoever you put out there, all right, we'll mow them down. It's just... And it doesn't matter. Like, I think Steph Curry has the caliber to win another MVP, but with the guys around him, like, he just not going to get as many shots up as he needs to win an MVP. When you got guys like Westbrook putting up 50 shots a game, it's just, I don't think so. Westbrook, Harden, those kind of guys. But my pick for the MVP is Giannis all day.
I mean, absolutely. When you got other players that are putting up those numbers and they don't have to deal with dishing the ball as much, I don't think he's going to do it. Honestly, because I think it will affect the team. I don't think it's because of his ability. I mean, Steph has proven year in and year out that he is an MVP level player, perennial all-star, top 5 at his position ever. But when you think of the Warriors, their team is predicated on sacrifice. When KD came, Steph sacrificed points. KD sacrificed money. Draymond sacrificed minutes. And if Steph Curry starts playing some hero ball, it's going to cause problems in that locker room. I can promise you. I mean, you got KD and Clay have already had 40-point games already. Clay had the 3 record in a game. I mean, so you have other players on the squad that need the rock. You need to dish the ball and not be a hero because it's going to cause problems. I guarantee, especially with KD having a free agency year, he needs to get his numbers up so he'll have more free agent interest. So I really think it's counterproductive if Steph has another MVP season.
And we're going to stay on the topic of Golden State. Many analysts have the Warriors ranked as the #1 uncontested team in the NBA today. With this variety of threat and star players, do you think there are any other teams that could pose a threat to them, or do you think it's smooth sailing from the rest of the season?
No.
Nope.
Not on this side of the Jerry West NBA logo, because anyone who would say otherwise is... Any of the other teams I had competing with Golden State this season have proven to me that they can't. Boston, they haven't looked as good as they can. They have chemistry problems right now because Gordon Hayward and Kyrie being added back into the mix is kind of screwed with the dynamics that they had last season. Houston Rockets lost the defensive prowess with losing Trevor Ariza and Mbah a Moute. Carmelo Anthony is sadly being Carmelo Anthony and taking terrible mid-shot jumpers. I honestly, besides the Raptors, there's not a team that even has that level of ability and talent to just dominate. But when you look per position, the Raptors can't keep up with the Warriors. Their bench is not nearly deep enough.
Well, I know the Denver Nuggets are out to a strong start this year.
Absolutely, but they're such a young team, and the fact that they haven't made a deep playoff run before. It's easy to be good in the regular season. However, to make that finals run, it takes a lot more.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that there's anybody. I mean, I think the Warriors got better adding Boogie, and I think everybody else got worse. The Rockets lost Trevor Ariza and replaced him with Melo. I think Ariza fits their team 10 times better than Melo does. And that was the only team that even came close to competing with them in the playoffs last year. I think they were the only team to win a game against them. I heard the Cavs won one against. I don't remember. But anyways, Warriors are going to run the table. They're probably going to sweep the playoffs. And that's that.
Take another championship, pretty much.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I mean, another team to watch out for. You mentioned
Repeat.
Denver's looked on fire this year. I mean,
Oh,
absolutely.
they're good.
Yeah, and they were a team that no one really thought they would come out of the gate firing strong. Hey, that concludes our NBA segment here on The Big Hit. That's one topic down. We got 4 more to cover here on the hour-long episode of The Big Hit. From Jeff Hart, Joey Sinaway, and Jake Slabonic. We'll be right back after I wrestle a bear through the commercial break.
Welcome to Press Start.
2 players, 1 controller. 2 players, one controller. And
Playing
go.
Smash, let's go.
Oh no, I know what it is.
Total Drum Island.
No!
Welcome back inside The Big Hit to our NFL Roundtable segment. Why do we call it that? This table's round and we're discussing the NFL. I'm here with Garrett Clark, the man who thinks that jerseys are dress shirts. I'm with Jake Spaghetti Spagnol and Nick Daddy Dodowski. And of course, I'm Jake Slabonic, your host for this show. Guys, let's start things off here. In a shocking turn of events, the Atlanta Falcons showed up the Washington Redskins on Sunday in DC 38-14. Julio Jones finally broke his touchdown drought. 12-game touchdown drought that was, and Matt Ryan threw for over 350 yards. Does this mean the Falcons have found their lost mojo?
I don't think it matters if the Falcons have found their mojo because honestly, in the NFC, it's such a competitive conference that I think the Saints are a lock for the division win, and I think the Panthers are a lock for the first wild card spot. At least one playoff spot for the Falcons to possibly get. That's going to be tough for them to get it this year for sure.
I think it's going to be like last year, and there's going to be 3 teams from that conference going into the playoffs. But I don't know. I'm kind of with Nick that for sure that I think Carolina's a better team. Definitely, the Saints are going to get that division, but I don't know. They're kind of up and down. Like a couple years ago, they won 8 straight, but then they lost another 8. So I'm not sure. I don't trust them to do any more than what they're doing, but I think they'll sneak in, probably like a 6 seed.
Yeah, I feel like they're gonna do what Spag said was pretty much choke almost, or at least make it to that point where they're gonna win the whole thing, but lose in the end, like a few years back against the Patriots.
I do agree with Spags. I think that we could see another year where we see 3 teams from the same division make it into the playoffs. It's just about who. Falcons, they're a toss-up team. We don't know if they're going to make it. The Rams have already proven themselves. We'll get to them in a little bit. As well as the Saints and the Panthers. They've shown us a lot of stuff that we can see going forward. The Falcons, I think they're going to be the one team that we're going to have to look into the most.
I agree. I think the Falcons are definitely a threat offensively for sure. I know they've had a lot of injuries so far this season, so it's definitely going to be tough for them to overcome those injuries and make it to the playoffs. But yeah, they're definitely a threat to put up 400-plus yards of offense on any defense in the league, honestly. Yeah, definitely a dangerous team going forward.
Yeah, that defense just has been hurting with injuries. I think like a couple cornerbacks and linebackers have been injured on that Falcons defense, so they've been hurting real bad on defense at least.
Yeah, especially both their starting safeties were out within the first couple games, but this is Matt Ryan's second season with a new offensive coordinator. His second season with Kyle Shanahan, they went to the Super Bowl, and that offense was unbelievable. It was like top 5 or top 10 NFL history. So
I think they had a rough start actually at the beginning anyway, so who's to say they might get better as the year goes on.
You know, that's always a possibility. They could get better as the year goes on. And you said that they actually had a slow start going into their Super Bowl contending season. So we may expect big things for them. But let's take that and jump over the AFC a little bit. The Houston Texans, they advanced to 6-3 after a 19-17 victory over the Denver Broncos. After the whole Demaryius Thomas trade, they sort of shown more signs of life. Are the playoffs on the horizon for them now that they are 3 games over 500, or is this a fluke as they call it?
I think they're real. I think they're definitely real. I mean, to be honest, other maybe than the Titans might be a sneak-in team for the playoffs. I think that's their division to take because I don't see the Colts really doing anything, and they have a consistent quarterback now. I mean, they went to the playoffs with Osweiler, and that was all based mostly off their defense. So, I mean, I think they're a real threat this year.
I think the Texans are kind of getting it handed to them, honestly. I think the Jacksonville is just an absolute mess this year. We all thought they were going to be a real tough contender in the AFC this year. They have not been. They've been all over the place. It's a complete mess in Jacksonville. So their season's probably done. Indianapolis didn't have very high expectations for them coming into the season. Andrew Luck recovered nice, 3-5 record with a rough team. They could be good with the next couple of years, but their season's obviously over too. That leaves just the Houston Texans and the Titans. So I think the Titans can compete with the Texans for sure. It's going to be a tight race for the division. I think the Texans personally are going to lose the division to the Titans, but the Texans could definitely slip in as a wild card team.
And I also think the addition of Demaryius Thomas, as we mentioned earlier, really kind of helps them now, expands their chances of getting into the playoffs. As for his performance himself, do you think Deshaun Watson and him can find a connection, sort of like the Big Ben, Antonio Brown connection, and establish themselves as a hot quarterback, wide receiver threat?
Yeah, I think Deshaun Watson's a pretty good pocket passer for sure. He could definitely. He's made a good receiver out of Will Fuller the fifth. He's definitely shown us DeAndre Hopkins best the last couple seasons. So I don't see why he can't make the Pro Bowler like Demaryius Thomas a weapon on the Houston offense.
Exactly. Hey, guys, any thoughts?
I mean, definitely. I mean, he already has that connection with Hopkins. I mean, it's not clear cut because he hasn't had a full season with him yet. But between last year when he was thrown, he had 17 touchdowns by the time he was done. So I think for sure that he's going to make that connection.
Exactly, and you got to think that Will Fuller's out for the rest of the season, but you got Hopkins, you got Thomas, and then when Fuller does come back, it's gonna make their offensive unit stronger than ever. So they have a lot of possibilities. And, I mean, for the next few years, you can't really count them out unless they just suffer something so drastic that it just dooms their chances. You know, the Pittsburgh Steelers have finally claimed their place at the top of the throne after defeating the Baltimore Orioles or Baltimore Ravens, that is, on Sunday. And, well, should we feel safe with their lead now, or should we be worried that Bengals or Ravens will make a comeback? I don't foresee the Browns coming back.
Right.
You never know.
I personally think that the Steelers have it in the bag at this point. Baltimore now has a losing record, and it's always tough to come halfway through the season having a losing record. That definitely is going to be tough to come back and win the division off that, especially with a red-hot team like the Steelers in the division with you. You also have a very competitive team in the Cincinnati Bengals, as Garrett showed us today, with that Andy Dalton jersey that I despise. I'm sorry. But, I think that the Bengals can compete. Both teams are definitely competing for a wild card in the Ravens and the Bengals. I think the Steelers have the division in the bag.
I'd be more worried about the Ravens in the playoffs. I don't think the Bengals are going to be able to come back. I mean, I know that's your team, Garrett, but I don't know.
You're saying the team with a losing record has more of a chance at getting the playoffs than the Bengals?
That's my gut feeling, because I've always had the feeling that the Ravens are the more team to fear compared to the Bengals. I mean, the Bengals, they've won the division a couple times the last couple years, and they've gotten to the playoffs. But when they get to there, the Ravens step it up, and the Bengals don't know how to finish. So I'm more afraid of the Ravens at any point than the Bengals.
Well, I feel like it's more our running back core is always hurting every year during those playoff runs, so that's what kills us somewhat.
It's not the fact that Burfict tries to kill literally everyone out on the field and he gives up stupid penalties.
Same with Pac-Man Jones and
partially, but like I don't want to even get into that because I know we'll have an argument about that. But I love Burfict, but he just can be that person to target people. It'll be like the whole Bounty Gate thing in New Orleans.
Joe Mixon's one of those underrated running backs. A lot of people see him. He gets hurt a lot, but with the absence of Giovanni Bernard, I think that Joe Mixon now has a chance to really make a name for himself, establish himself as the elite running back that is in Cincinnati.
Yeah, he was kind of proving it at the beginning, but he got injured, and then nothing's happening right now with them.
And as we saw, going back to the Ravens, as we saw coming into the season, they were red hot. They were winning all their games. They started off 4-2. All it took was Justin Tucker to miss his first ever career extra point. And now that just crushed all of their momentum. And look at them now; they've lost 3 in a row.
Well, and I really thought the Lamar Jackson, like them trying different things with him, would really change things because you don't know anymore. Like the Steelers can't play for that, and really because Lamar Jackson's a running back quarterback.
Well, here's the thing: like when they put Lamar Jackson in, the defense looks at it as one or two ways. He's either going out as a wideout or he's going in there to rush. So it narrows their options down. It lets them blitz a little bit more. I would honestly hope that maybe they give Flacco a little bit of a break, put Lamar Jackson in, let him show what he has. Because if you ask me, Lamar Jackson is more of a quarterback personality. He kind of reminds me of Terrell Pryor in a way, except maybe he'll establish himself a little bit better.
Yeah,
I know it's a little risky saying,
we'll have to see.
But I really think they should give Lamar Jackson a chance under center. I think he's going to do a much better job than the aging Joe Flacco. I mean, you got to admit, he's getting up there in age.
Right.
He's got to be done sometime soon. Trade deadlines passed, a lot of moves were made, and this week we saw a lot of people in action. Last night we saw Amari Cooper with his first game with the I don't think we saw Golden Tate.
Golden Tate, he went from his team on a bye week to a team with a bye week, so he's going to be well rested.
Yeah, because he's with the Eagles right now.
That might hinder him too. But the question I have for you guys is, who has benefited more from this trade deadline?
I personally think that not too many teams who've made moves at the trade deadline have benefited so far. The Redskins got Clinton Dix, was a huge acquisition for their team, but they lost to the Falcons this week. They got destroyed actually on defense, so that was an L. Even though the Cowboys lost to Amari Cooper, I think that he performed well, especially in his first game with the Cowboys. He's the number one wide receiver they've been looking for. But I personally want to look at an acquisition that could possibly happen soon, and that's Dez Bryant going to a contender like the New Orleans Saints. That's just another weapon for Drew Brees to torch every single defense in the league. That's going to be the move that puts the Saints over the top.
I agree with that Amari Cooper statement, and I actually agree with the Dez Bryant statement because I feel like he's going to want to go to a championship contender team, and Saints are definitely someone like that. But the Amari Cooper trade, I agree with that. He's benefited a lot more. He got more targets from Dak Prescott, probably because Dak just threw it up and he happened to be there. But guys, what do you guys think?
I mean, right now I feel like Demaryius Thomas, because I feel like there's more of he's been around longer, so I know what he's already gotten. Cooper, his first 2 years were really good, but I don't know. I think in time you give both of them. I think Cooper will probably be better because he got a touchdown catch in his first game, and he was really showing that spotlight. But I think overall, for now, I'd say Demaryius Thomas. But I don't know. Once Golden Tate gets out on that field, we might see he has a lot more time to actually learn the playbook before he starts playing.
The LA Rams have finally met their match and suffered their first loss at the hands of Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints. But what do they need to do in order to come back next week and improve upon the team?
Personally, I think the Rams, the pass rushing just needs to get better. They didn't get a single sack on Drew Brees the entire game on Sunday. No quarterback hits, I don't think. That's never going to win you ball games. If Drew Brees can sit in the pocket all day and throw to Mike Thomas for over 200 yards, you're never gonna beat a team. They gave up 45 points. I don't care if you're playing, like I said on the radio yesterday, I don't care if you're playing the Cleveland Browns. I don't care if you're playing Indiana University of Pennsylvania's football team. I don't care if you give up 45 points. There's no way you can win a championship with a defense like that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they're only their first loss, so I feel like they're really going to regroup and focus on things like definitely the pass rush, but overall the defense as a whole just wasn't there. I mean, yeah, it was a huge scoring scam. I think like 80, 90 points between both teams total, but I don't know. Aaron Donald couldn't get there. No one was even hitting him. If Brees at least was getting some quarterback hits or some hurries, but he had the entire day to just pick him off, just do whatever he wanted. Plus Kamara's running all over the place. It's ridiculous. I'm not sure. But that pass rush needs to really get fixed.
Yeah, and you can't let this get in your heads. The Jared Goff, Todd Gurley, all of them, don't let this get to their heads. Pretty much, you don't want because if it has an effect on their head, they'll just fall down.
Yeah,
and be like last in the division if something happens.
Yeah, you can't dwell within your own head, or else it'll affect your game dramatically. They pretty much already sealed their ticket through the playoffs. Yeah. So I really don't think they have much to worry about. This was just you can't win you can't win them all.
No.
I think it's just a case.
And that whole division's just not even really good. The only one that's good right now is the Seahawks. Really.
And they're what 4-4.
Yeah.
I
wouldn't even consider them good.
Yeah.
No, but they're better than the freaking Cardinals or the 49ers right now because they're both like losing records.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, hey, you never know. 49ers, Nick Mullins. I mean, granted, he played a terrible Raiders defense, but let's see how he fares out in his second week. But as for that, that'll conclude our NFL Roundtable segment. Jake Slobonic alongside Garrett Clark, Jake Spagnall, and Nick Daddy Dudowski. We'll be right back here on the Big Hit with the NHL Roundtable. Keep it right here on IUP-TV. Welcome back here on the Big Hit for the NHL segment, the National Hot Dog Launch. I'm kidding, no, that's the National Hockey League. I'm here with Hot Take Jake Taylor and Mike Costa, two of our expert NHL analysts. And guys, we got a lot of fiery questions today. First one, Nashville Predators are yet again atop the National Hockey League. Nashville went from Western Conference champs to President Trophy winners. Is this finally the year we see the Predators hoist the Stanley Cup come June?
Mike? Nope. You know, hey, right here, baby. Back in black, Penguins are going to win it again. I'm going with a repeat. Pekka, stud goaltender, phenomenal. But, you know, I mean, who to lose to? The Penguins. So they got an all-around really good team, top to bottom. We say it all the time. Loaded roster, a lot of speed, a lot of talent, a lot of size. But when you come across the Penguins and Mike Sullivan, I don't think they'll do it. I think they could be the next Washington Capital from the West. They'll win a couple President's trophies. You know, they got a loaded roster, so they can pull that off. But it's only what you do in the postseason that matters to me. Yeah. And we've done it before, done it twice, done it a bunch of times, done it with a bunch of good players. We're looking really good. Nothing to it but to do it, boys.
Hey, I agree with that, Mike. But, however, I do think Nashville is a powerhouse, definitely in the entire NHL, let alone the Western Conference. Last year, they saw themselves President's Trophy winners. They finished the year 7th in goals for and 2nd in goals against. And this year, they had the same exact numbers, same exact stats, 7th and 2nd. Last year, they finished with 2nd overall in team rating. The Winnipeg Jets. I got stats today.
Making me look like a jabroni. Wow, stat guy over here.
Stat guy. I can do it.
That's all I got right here is my stats.
Last year, the Winnipeg Jets finished first with the best team rating, and right now it's the Nashville Predators. I don't need to look at my paper. They had a good special teams last year. This year they're a little bit lacking, but it's early in the season. The detrimental to the Nashville Predators last year, they led the NHL in penalties, and you just can't win when you're just in the box all the time. You can't give teams like Winnipeg.
Minnesota's killing it.
Yeah, Minnesota's killing it.
Can't score in the box.
Yeah, you can't score in the box, exactly. You can't. Well, you can, but you can't really. And they're doing way better this year, staying out of the sin bin. I really like what Nashville has. I think Roman Yossi's going to be a great captain. He already is pretty much a great captain. You saw Mike Fisher come out of retirement last year. Didn't do much. Too busy focusing on his wife butchering the Sunday Night Football theme song. Take it back.
That's fine. That's cool.
Years before Carrie Underwood. The Nashville Predators, though. Real deal, defensively, goaltending, offensively. elite.
Man, that was fire to start off our segment. We're going to keep moving on. You guys mentioned Colorado Avalanche earlier on in your little respective rants right there. However, they are off to a blazing hot start, and their top line with Rantanen, Landeskog, and McKinnon are each in the top 10 of the NHL point race. Are we seeing the real deal in Colorado?
Jake?
Thank you,
Yes.
Mike. I think we are to a point. I think we're seeing the real deal as in the sense that the team is talented. The team deserves to be talked about. The team deserves to be winning games. However, they should not be favorites coming out no matter what. I think the Central Division's stacked. Again, Nashville's in that. Like you said, Minnesota. You have teams that have a hard schedule. I think McKinnon should have won MVP last year. Again, he's proven it. He's proving right now what he should be. Gabe Landeskog coming off a few injuries in years past. He's really starting to bounce back this year. Rantanen actually finished with 84 points last year, so he's kind of just keep the momentum going. He had a great season last year. McKinnon with 97, like I mentioned. So I think that Colorado's the real deal. I think Varlamov's playing well, and defensively, I think they're mediocre, but they can win a few games.
Yeah, I think the offense makes up for it. Goaltending too. That's what it comes down to. But if you can lose Matt Duchene, your captain, that whole whatever that was that happened, and then he's out of there, and McKinnon taking over, I think that speaks for itself. I think with the management and everything, and the head coach, it says a lot, and they trust the whole team, and they got a young core of guys. They wanted to get that rolling. With Matt Duchene out, whatever happened with him, someone's girlfriend or something, so now they got that out. I don't know what that was, but I think they're really they're on a roll now. Another stat for you.
Hit me with it, Mike.
Special teams wins Stanley Cups.
True.
And 10th in penalty kill, 4th in power play. There's a stat for you right there, bud. There's a stat for you right there.
Proud of these guys. These guys are.
So if you can kill it on the special teams, between the pipes you're good, offense is loaded, you got a good shot in my book. You know, you might have one good line, maybe shut that down, but load it all.
I agree with you.
Yeah,
Preach.
I agree with me too. Thanks, man.
All right, guys, moving on. Similar to the Colorado Avalanche, the Calgary Flames are off to just as hot as a start as the Avalanche are, and they have 4 players in the top 12 of the NHL point race. Is this just a fluke, or will we see Calgary in May?
I don't think we'll see Calgary in May. They're just a streaky team. Johnny Gaudreau is the only thing consistent on that entire roster. I think year in and year out, he's up there in the points. He's up there producing. He's carrying this team, although how small he is. He's putting the team on his back. He's really carrying them up and down the ice. I think Sean Monahan's a very underrated player on that roster, but goaltending, Jake Allen can't get it done. He couldn't get it done in St. Louis. He can't get it done in Calgary. We saw him in the playoffs in 2016 where they got swept in the first round because Brian Elliott was the worst goaltending performance by a goalie in modern playoff history. It was a shame for that Calgary team. I thought they were going to do decent. That really could have boosted their confidence. As you saw last year, finished the league in the middle of the pack for the same exact reason. They're streaky. They get real hot. They get flaming hot, and then they get ice cold. And, it's just not good. Katy Perry.
Katy Perry, hot and cold.
Hot and cold. And it's not good right now in the National Hockey League.
Nah, they don't look as good as Katy Perry. But I think you could say that they're maybe a little crappier Colorado Avalanche. Young team, got a lot of talent. Love Brady Tkachuk, scrappy little dude. I think that little mini Sean Avery looking dude is going to be around in the league a lot. I think that aspect of the game and getting down and dirty. I think
it's all about getting down and dirty.
That's what we love, man.
That's what we love. We do it all the time.
So if you can do that, I mean, you get in people's heads. If you can get in people's heads and you can make that work, and may not put as many points up, but if you can prevent other teams from getting points, I think that really that goes a lot to show.
It does.
But yeah, Brian Elliott now, mediocre goaltender. Defense is getting there, but I don't know. You got to give it some time.
Yeah.
Division is loaded, so that's how I feel.
All right, guys, in the last 9 seasons, we've seen the Chicago Blackhawks and the Los Angeles Kings win a combined 5 Stanley Cups. And, this past week, both teams fired their head coaches. Kings John Stevens and 3-time champion Joel Quenneville of the Hawks. Are these the daggers in the dynasty, or could this, bring some life to the organizations?
I think if it brings any life, it's definitely going to bring life to the Los Angeles Kings. I mean, they've still been good. They've still been playoff teams. They've still been Stanley Cup contenders. I really don't think John Stevens got too much of a chance in Los Angeles. However, I was very surprised to see Chicago had fired Joe Quenneville because of his success. The man has over 450 wins.
Yeah.
He made it to the Stanley Cup 3 times, won 3 times, made it to the Western Conference Final twice, 5 times, lost twice. So the man knows how to win. He knows how to coach with such talent on that roster. Like, the roster still has talent. I mean, granted, they're not as good. They're still not peaking really as much as they were with Duncan Keith and Taves and Saad and all them. But I'm really surprised to see that Joe Quenneville was fired so early. They were the number 1 team in the West 2 years ago. Last year they didn't make the playoffs, and now they only they won 4 games, lost 8, and so now he's out of there. Kind of surprising to me. I'm not sure how the team's going to really bounce back for that. As for John Stevens, he hasn't even won 50 games yet, but he's
swept last year.
Yeah, but he's never lost 40, so less than 40. So pretty early there. I think they might be looking for a little Mike Sullivan action, fire coach early into the season.
Right.
Hope the second coming. Messiah comes down, Mike Sullivan, and carries the Kings to 2 more Stanley Cups. Won't happen, but
I
might
think
as well take the chance.
Joel's got a hell of a mustache, man.
Yeah, it is a stash.
I would love to see that back in the league.
That's a stash.
But I don't know. John Stevens, I don't think he's cutting it for me. I mean, 3 seasons haven't done anything.
Yeah.
I think
Jabroni.
I think the league is way too young. I got a little Mike fact for you. I think the league, because it's so young and it's all about, the Austin Matthews, Connor McDavid's, teaching Jake here, the young guys in the league. It's all about them. I think those guys, the team kind of revolves around them.
Yeah.
It's no more about like the Michelle Terrans and all that, the Babcocks. I mean, look at the Detroit. But I think those guys, it's all about where the coach just said, you got to do what you got to do, and you fit in the system, and if you don't, then you got to get out.
Yeah.
I think that's done. I think it's all about the guys now, and you kind of have to be cool with them and work with them. I think Willie Desjardins, I think, for Anaheim just brought in, I think he'll do pretty well. I think he can gel with the guys. You got to be able to relate to the guys.
You got to really be able to bro down.
Little guidance counsel.
Yeah, you basically just full send.
You got to be.
You got to be a full send.
Minimum. I don't think Joel and Scott or Joel and Steve are sending it at all.
Yeah, Joel signed it a few years ago after he won the cup, and then he's with the stash and all that. That's one cool thing about him. John Stevens, the players didn't even like him. Fonzie Kopitar doesn't like you. That dude's a jabroni too. So geez Louise.
Hey, little stat for you. Minus 17 goal differential. That's not
That's
good.
bad. Oh, Jonathan
Worse
Quick
than the league.
also tore his meniscus.
Another one worse than the league. That's worse than the league goal differential. So there's 2 for 2 for you, bud.
We've got facts coming in left and right from these two. I don't know how we can contain them. Moving on. Once great teams of recent are seeing themselves at the bottom of the league, do teams such as the Detroit Red Wings, the New York Rangers, St. Louis, and the Philly Flyers have a chance to turn it around during this 82-game season, or do they look hopeless?
No, they do not have a chance to turn it around, especially the Philadelphia Flyers, because anything, you know what the Flyers have to do? Hire Joe Quenneville, because that's the least sending team in the entire National Hockey League in Philadelphia. So you might as well get your Brony McGee over there and start behind the bench and try to get the boys to rally and win a cup.
100%,
but
I agree.
Teams like that, I really think some of them are rebuilding, like Detroit's really rebuilding. Teams like Florida trying to rebuild. They were close. They were pretty good last year. I think Barkov's just got named captain. I think he's a great player.
Than Detroit, but
a little closer to Detroit. The Rangers are just falling off. They wholesaled their team to Tampa Bay. Not sure why, but they did that last year. Poor Henrik Lundqvist. And St. Louis, I'm not sure what the deal is with St. Louis. That's just choking right there. I think they can be. I think they have the talent and the depth enough to come back and finish higher. I don't think they really have a chance to make the playoffs a little and go deep in the playoffs. But I do think they have a chance to really bounce back. As for the other teams, I think they're just rebuilding, and I think for Philadelphia, they just suck.
Yeah.
They're from Philly, so
yeah.
That's true.
No Philly special on that end.
100%. No. Break it down. New York Rangers. If Henrik's still there and he's still winning them games, it's kind of hurting him. Henrik, he should just retire. That's a selfish move by him.
Yeah.
Same thing with Eli. Eli should just retire. You know, you're kind of winning some games, keeping them up there. You got to get them draft picks in.
Yeah.
But they could have had Rasmus Dahlin, kind of a big deal, kind of a big defenseman.
Kind of a big deal.
But I think they gotta wipe clean house there. I think Detroit's kind of the same way. Babcock's trying to bring it all together, but I mean, what are you going to work with when Zetterberg and all them retire? All those guys are gone. And
gone.
I think so that cleaned house there. St. Louis has always been that team that, like a little better than average Philly, but I don't hate St. Louis, so it doesn't really, so like they just kind of like middle of the pack. Same thing with Philly, and Philly's the same. They're just middle of the pack, decent draft picks, maybe don't know what they're doing too much, and I think they're just always going to stay in the middle there. So. Turnaround for Detroit in the long run, I don't know about Philly. Philly can, whatever they can.
We are not a biased show. We just go. We state our opinions based on facts. Just saying.
All
right
these
now.
facts written down. Here's one. Flyers suck. All right, next question.
It's right there from
stat
Wikipedia
guys.
itself.
Fact check me.
Stat guys.
All right, guys, we gotta go. We got some rapid fire questions coming at you. Other than my social life, what is the biggest disappointment so far?
You know what? We were just talking
I gotta rewrite this then.
We were just talking about the St. Louis Blues. St. Louis Blues.
Yeah.
They were 1 point away from making the postseason last year. They played last game of the year was Colorado against St. Louis. It was a play-in game, and obviously Colorado won, and St. Louis missed the playoffs. The 2 years before that, they were Stanley Cup hopefuls. They were coming in there. Tarasenko was lighting it up. Nonetheless, they have Jay Bouwmeester. They have players like Berglund and Paul Stastny. These guys are good players. They really are. I think goaltending, they're fine. Defensively too, I think they're real good defensively, especially the transitioning wise. I think they have some low key good offensive defensive players on that team. I'm not sure why. Hard division. We keep talking about this, but it's a tough division. But still, they're good enough to win these games. I think they're better than some teams that are above them, like Minnesota. But you know what? They choke every single year, so they should move to Los Angeles as well.
I'm going back to the Kings, LA. Bottom of the league. How do you do that? Coach gets fired. You have Drew Doughty, stud defenseman. That's what you need to win a Stanley Cup. And then you got Anze Kopitar. They're deep at the center position as it is.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, when you got Anze Kopitar, you can have so much speed on a team. You know, they could play Toronto and they can blaze all over. But like, when you got Anze Kopitar and all those guys, and they just can balance that. Basically, if they're defensemen, shut them down. But it's not happening. I think it's a big disappointment. I
got another disappointment. A player, not a team. Taylor Hall, the reigning MVP.
What a shame.
It was a shame. I was so against him winning MVP last year, and now look at him.
Another one, John Scott.
Yeah,
John Scott. He should be back in the league. Whatever happened to John Scott?
Yeah, he won All-Star game captain, All-Star game MVP, and no one.
Team John. We're Team John. If you're watching this, John.
Yeah, Taylor Hall, though, 2 goals, 12 assists, pretty mediocre, -5 plus or minus. That's compared to. When he was in the MVP race last season, it was between 4 players: Taylor Hall, Claude Giroux, Nathan McKinnon, and Connor McDavid. Taylor Hall obviously won. McKinnon right now 21 points, Giroux 17, and McDavid 22. So clearly Taylor Hall can't even compete with his peers and his players that he beat out for MVP last year. Taylor Hall, another big disappointment. You just made the list.
Nice Chris Jericho reference right there. All right, guys, what's the biggest surprise so far this season?
Biggest surprise. Player-wise, I'll stick with that. Braden Point for the Tampa Bay Lightning, 17 points, leading the Tampa Bay Lightning in points. I know that's very surprising. However, they do have such great young players. Braden Point, Yanni Gourde, players like that. JT Miller, just got JT Miller, geez Louise. I mean, you'd think players like Stamkos and Kucherov, even Victor Hedman could be leading this team in points, but it's Braden Point. Ironically enough, Braden Point's leading the league in team points. So that's my biggest surprise for player-wise.
Mike?
I think, take a little player-wise too, I think with San Jose getting Erik Karlsson, ever heard of him? Kind of a stud.
Yeah, never heard of him.
Him and Brent Burns. I mean, they got the beauty and the beast over there. I thought they'd be top of the league. I don't know. It's just kind of weird to me. That team, they got a lot of speed too. I mean, they were a Stanley Cup contending team, lost to the Penguins. Little Penguins plug again for you again. But I don't know. It's just weird to me. Erik Karlsson and Brent Burns, and I mean, nothing's coming together to an extent that they should be at the top. You know?
We got to split this up real quick, but I got Islanders, another big surprise for me. Barry Trotz is killing it, and the Vancouver Canucks.
All right, contain your excitement just a little bit. We got 2 more things to do. Now I just want plain answers, no explanation behind it. Favorite from the East and West?
Pittsburgh Penguins, Nashville Predators.
I got Penguins and San Jose.
All right, and then the end of the year MVP prediction for you guys.
I got to think of this quick. Oh my gosh.
Mike, we'll start with you.
Mike.
Jack Eichel. Love the Fro. Great guy.
Good guy. Yep. Go. I'm digging deep. Going here. Jake Gensel.
It's because his name's Jake on it. So we've got 2 Jakes on the set. All right, guys, we're going to be back with the NCAA football segment. We're going to find out who's a real fan here on the NCAA football segment when we come back on the Big Hit. But in the meantime, I'm going to go outside and take a shower in the rain.
Instead of doing a line in the dirty bathroom of a frat house, you might as well just pick up a few chocolate chip cookies.
Let me give you some personal advice. Cucumbers work a lot better.
A bunch of text messages. And yeah, I think like...
If you're cheated on and never find out, that just makes you look dumb if everybody else knows.
Okay, I look and sound a little bit like Michael Cera.
Who the cares about Kris Jenner? And that family makes way too much money. They do absolutely nothing.
Today's word of the day is college. Noun.
That's my reality check, and I'm game.
Welcome back inside the Big Hit. Your host, Jake Slobodnik, alongside Stephen Langdon Jr. and Michael Surma for the NCAA Football segment. Guys, we got a lot to talk about today. I expect some great analysis from both of you. First off, Purdue has done it again after defeating yet another Big Ten threat in the Iowa Hawkeyes after a walk-off field goal from Spencer Evans. Are the Boilermakers a sleeper team that we should look out for?
I think they were already a team to look out for after they beat Ohio State. A great performance, just completely dismantling one of the top teams in the country at that time. But you have to look at Purdue's schedule. They have also beaten ranked Boston College and, like I said, Ohio State and Iowa now. So 3 top-ranked teams, and they have just gone in and just completely dismantled them, in my opinion. And Tyler Trent, the 19-year-old with a rare bone cancer, hearts out to him, but he's really been a driving force of this team. You can see the look on those players' faces every time that they step out on the field. They are playing for something, and that is Trent. I think that this is a great story to watch out for, especially as we get closer and closer to bowl season. I think Purdue is very underrated going in, and since they beat Iowa, people know that they are a serious team.
Yeah, it was kind of like a fluke almost when they beat Ohio State, but then they beat Iowa, who's another ranked team. And they kind of sealed their deal that they are underrated and they are a team to watch out for. Michael, what do you think?
I think the Boilermakers already boiled themselves. They started 0-3, and the Big Ten West, total trash.
This weekend had a lot of upsets. Just to name a few, Arizona State over number 15 ranked Utah. My Pitt Panthers over the 25th ranked University of Virginia. Auburn over 20th ranked Texas A&M. And finally, Missouri over 11th ranked Florida. Guys, which one surprised you the most and why?
I'd just like to say one thing. Thank you, Auburn, for showing that Texas A&M is not deserving of being ranked. This is now their 4th loss of the season, and if they are even come close to even receiving a vote the rest of the year, I think that is a disgrace to college football because they have not played a single good team all year that they have won. But in my opinion, the biggest upset has to go Missouri over Florida. Florida has looked strong all season long, but they went into Georgia. They lost last week, and then they come in and they play Missouri, and then they lose again. I think that Georgia loss had a big effect on them, and just overall, I think they were a very underrated team going into the season. They didn't have many expectations, and they came in here, and they were doing solid throughout the entire season. But then the last 2 games have really just blown into shreds, and I think overall Florida are on the downswing now.
I have to agree with every word. Too bad. With these upsets, none of them really surprised me because Utah, Virginia, Texas A&M, and Florida, they're all overrated. Every team is overrated, and Florida hasn't had offense since Tim Tebow since Will Greer left.
Hold on
the
right now.
transfer to
You're
West
that
Virginia.
Florida is overrated?
Yeah.
You are full of it, sir. I can agree with Texas A&M being overrated. Maybe Virginia.
I don't know.
Utah,
I don't even know about Virginia. They lost to a Pitt team that. Let's be honest. Let's be honest though. Pitt is not a football school. They are not a football school anymore. They're having a solid season this year. I think that they will make a bowl game. But Virginia is not underrated. I think that they were deserving of being ranked, and they just got an unfortunate Pitt team that just beat them.
Pitt knows how to win upsets. That's the same with the Pitt Panthers. They know how to win upsets, and they screw up versus like the worst team in the ACC with the Tar Heels.
But Pitt has one big. Not really. That wasn't really a big upset, but they have one upset a season. You saw last year they beat Miami, and then this year
they beat Clemson.
So it's really come to be something I expect out of Pitt is that they have one big win a year.
Temple lost a very close game to number 12 ranked UCF 52-40, and throughout that game, Temple looked like they had it in the bag. They had a lead a few times throughout the game, but surrendered it late in the 4th quarter. Does this mean that UCF, the reigning defending champions nonetheless, may fall late this season? They will have another championship caliber.
Please, someone just beat them already. They have way too much confidence. They have not played a ranked team all season long. I think the rankings are right. They should be ranked low for an undefeated team, I should say, because they have not played a single good team all season long. Temple had a solid win streak going into the game, and they played well, but didn't finish it. You have to finish the game. and I just hope that someone beats UCF.
You know, I hope so too. They have no reason to call themselves champions. They haven't shown much.
They do not deserve to be called national champions after last year.
Here's the thing: they're the University of Cocky Florida Knights. That's what I call them, the University of Cocky Florida Knights. Here's why. Did they beat anybody? No. They beat an Auburn team that fell off the roof in the Peach Bowl after they lost to Georgia there, and barely beat Washington there, who's not even in the rankings anymore this year. So UCF is the most overrated team. That's a group of 5. And I believe Fresno State, or one of these teams that we're not really talking about, will show themselves and they'll top UCF, because UCF's going to lose to Houston or USF. Guaranteed.
I actually really like that analysis, Steven. What do you have to say from that?
I don't think that they'll lose in the regular season. I think they go into a bowl game and they lose at the bowl game, probably to, I don't know. I'm thinking that they lose to, I'm going to say, Florida.
Moving on, the Penn State Nittany Lions lost big against rival Michigan 42-7. Again, the Nittany Lions returning to Happy Valley, not so happy. Would you blame their loss on Trace McSorley and the PSU offense, or their lackluster defense?
I'd blame the loss on the whole team, because they didn't prepare enough for this big challenge going into the big house in Michigan, which is almost the biggest home field advantage you can get anywhere you play. I just really think they ill-prepared for Trace McSorley's knee brace, and that really impacted their whole game, even from their defense, because of momentum carrying them forward for the last quarters of the game. And if they planned better to run Trace McSorley more and run Sanders the best they could with a wildcat or some crazy formation, I think they possibly had a shot, but their game plan was just horrible against the best defense in the NCAA.
Yeah, so Trace McSorley is injured, so I'm not going to put all the blame just on him, because he goes into the game with a bit of a problem. So, of course, like I said, not going to put all the blame on him. I put more of the blame on the defense for allowing 42 points in the game. When you're giving up 42 points and you're giving up touchdown after touchdown, drive after drive, then that's going to just really kill your offense. If you're going to win a game, you have to do well on defense, and Penn State just did terrible on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, pretty much let Michigan just pretty much steamroll them the entire way through. It was just a disgrace to Penn State in general. I mean, you got Trace McSorley, he's a good quarterback. He is injured, though. Defense really didn't support that, and it kind of made Penn State look weak, especially after suffering yet another huge loss that could impact their rankings.
Yeah, right after they got done losing to Ohio State, it just seems like the whole team fell apart in a way, because you haven't been seeing that high-scoring offense as great as they were in the beginning of the year. And I think ever since that Ohio State loss, it's just seemed like everything has gone downhill. At least that's what I've seen.
I'd have to say a problem is James Franklin. I mean, he's a great coach and everything. I'm not saying anything bad on that, but he hasn't really prepared them well versus the big opponents in the Big Ten, like Ohio State, Michigan State. They lost to them back-to-back games and back-to-back years, and the Michigan Wolverines. I mean, they just can never seem to win the big contests other than Ohio State a few years back, and you haven't really seen them beat a huge team since then.
You're not wrong there. All right, guys, final question, and this is the one I've been waiting to get to. Alabama absolutely decimated LSU, your Tigers, on Saturday, shutting them out 29-0. But I strongly believe the Tigers have a chance at making the college football playoffs still. Do you guys believe they have what it takes? I want to hear this.
I think they're strong enough to make it only if the teams ahead of them lose. Because I don't see them making it any other way, because Arkansas, Rice, and Texas A&M are the opponents they have left, and that's just not going to do it. I really think LSU has to wait it out again for however long this will be to finally compete with Alabama, finally get good recruits, and actually play the game instead of just going, hail Tua, before the game even starts. Come on. What kind of competition is that when you just hail the Heisman Trophy winner? Come on.
Okay, well, let's just say one thing. LSU has lost now 8 straight times to Alabama. That is absolutely a disgrace. Joey Burrow, you're great quarterback. You praised him last week. He went 18 to 35, 184 and an interception. And then, of course, you always praise the LSU rushing attack. Oh, they had themselves a fantastic day running the ball.
They didn't even rush.
They had a fantastic day running the ball, though. 12 rushing yards. Alabama's the fifth leading rusher on Alabama had more yards than LSU had total. Okay, so if you want to say the high-powered LSU Tigers, then let's see later on in the year, because your LSU Tigers just completely. I don't even know where they went. They did not show up to Alabama.
They haven't showed up to Alabama since the field goal game, 9-6 at Tuscaloosa, with Jordan Jefferson the quarterback. I mean,
last time LSU was good.
Yeah, and went to the national championship in New Orleans, which is kind of a home advantage, where they would lose to Alabama 21-0.
Because you guys
and they
can't
haven't
beat
won
Alabama.
since then.
Okay, guys, all right, let's take it down just a notch. I'm going to play devil's advocate. I think LSU has a strong chance of making college football playoff. If they don't, they'll have a strong bowl bid. I know you're giving me that look, but
because we're done.
I don't want. Hey, guys, again, let's take it down just a little bit. We got to wrap things up here. Who knows what will happen in the college football circuit? I'm glad I got to host this week and hear these two guys. We're going to take a break, and when we come back to finish off this hour-long Big Hit episode, we're going to have Jake Taylor and Nick Daddy Dudowski bring back the Weekday update. Just keep it here on the Big Hit on IUP-TV.
What it do, what it does, what it don't. Welcome to the second edition of the Weekday Update.
I am your sister's favorite daddy, Nick Dudowski.
And I am your mom's favorite kid from Shaler, Jake Taylor.
Fortunately, we were well enough to return to do this segment again because ratings were high, but so were the amount of death threats.
And that indeed. You know, ratings are going to be high when you and I are on screen, Nick. So lights, camera, action. Let's send it.
The Kansas City Chiefs wiped the Browns off their ass in brutal fashion. It was Cleveland's first game after former head coach Hugh Jackson was relieved of his duties after just having a 3-36-1 record. What's that funny, Jake?
Well, just that we're talking about the Browns, and you said duty, so I don't know. It's pretty funny, Dudowski. The Browns have had a 79.5 head coaches since their emergence in 1999. They've hired Greg Williams as interim head coach, but apparently looking to part ways with Williams after that embarrassment.
The Browns have interview candidates Brian Peppers, Whoopi Goldberg, and Jarvis Landry's cousin DeMarshawn. At least they still have a better chance to make the playoffs than Alex Rodriguez has of passing a drug test.
Speaking of drug tests, Drew Brees is addicted to being an elite. He dropped over 200 yards to receiver Michael Thomas after a game-sealing touchdown. Thomas reenacted a vintage Joe Horn celebration. Allegedly, he was on the phone with New Orleans Police Department to report a mass murder of the entire Rams defense.
The last time a defense played that bad in New Orleans, Hurricane Katrina happened.
Yes, Nick, that was as bad disaster, but not as bad as a disaster at LSU had last week.
The Crimson Tide sucked their big crimson tusks in those purple and gold pansies. The only thing LSU has that Bama does not are some very close families in Tuscaloosa.
And now on to a topic easier to comprehend. Le'Veon Bell has left the jet skis behind in Miami and is coming back to the 4-1-2. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Yes, Jake, Le'Veon is coming back. The man is 50 pounds heavier and 3 bottles of antiviral prescriptions to treat his herpes. Stay away from those South Beach strippers, Le'Veon. They've got more cottage cheese than an Eaton Park after dark buffet.
Well, Nick, after that sick image you put in my head, I'm not sure I can continue with this segment.
It's all good, Jake. I'll send this one home. On behalf of director Elliot Hicks, producers Steve Langdon Jr. and Jake Taylor.
Mike Costa as well.
The man behind the cam, Charles Sandash, the cottonmouth from the south, Michael Surma, and the rest of the Big Hit crew. This has been the latest issue of the Full Send Weekday Update. Don't forget, kids, never half send it. Trust the culture, and most importantly, call God, baby.
Johnny Manziel's, no more of that Johnny Manziel stuff. Get out of here.